Let's talk to Alex Salmond, though, and see what he makes of it all. They used to say it was morning in America, Alex, when Ronald Reagan was in charge. It feels like about 6:15 in the evening in Scotland at the moment. What do you reckon?
Well, I've been sitting here this morning watching Independent Republic, as it's time, with the sound off, as I normally do. And you've been appearing with a big sign under you saying nuisance neighbour. So I've been thinking, what have you been up to, mate?
Well, listen... I plead guilty to being a nuisance, but not actually a nuisance neighbour. I'm certainly a nuisance all the rest of the time.
I think it's the psalms singing on a Sunday morning. But I thought your 500 acres, the nearest neighbour, was the next county in England.
Well, that is true. That is true. Nobody knows what I get up to when I'm at home because they can't see me or hear me, which is very good. But, I mean, the SNP is busted, isn't it? I mean, it's not been fixed by what happened yesterday. It's probably been busted even more.
Well, the polite way to say it is it's got challenges. And you might say, well, why do I care about it, given I lead a rival party?
Yes.
Well, I care about it because I care about the national movement. I care about independence for Scotland. And you know, I've spent a fair amount of time trying to achieve it. So I really like the cause not to be knocked back. Now, nothing's set in stone. I mean, Humza was only elected yesterday. You asked about the statement I released. Look, everybody's entitled on the day they're elected to be congratulated, Mike.
Yes.
That's only polite. And what will matter now is what Humza, how he wears the crown. Does he wear it with... lightly with vision for the future, or does it become a huge burden for him?
Well, this is the thing, and I mean, we've got Anna Sarwar, the Labour leader, already calling for an election, which I'd have to say I kind of agree with, because, you know, nobody voted for Humza Yousaf. Only a third of those eligible to vote in the SNP ballot actually voted for him. He's a bit like Rishi Sunak. He doesn't exactly have a massive mandate personally, does he?
Well, he's slightly one up on Rishi Sunak, isn't he? Because after all, Rishi Sunak got beaten in the internal Tory ballot.
Yes.
So at least Humza narrowly avoided that. Although there is an issue. I mean, this ritual calling for an election, that's what opposition parties do. And, you know, and Anna Sarwar's do no more than going down a well-trodden path of ritual election calling by opposition parties. There's something of an argument. I mean, what Humza should remember is the majority of people voted against him in the SNP ballot. If you add the votes of Ash Regan and Kate Forbes together, they were greater than his vote.
Yeah. And
you would hope and believe that he would try to pick up some of the good ideas from these two excellent women candidates and say, well, actually, they knew what they were talking about. Maybe I should do some of what they were saying. And, you know, for example, why don't you drop this nonsense about, fighting the UK government on the ground of 35, the transgender legislation. I mean, you know me, Mike, I don't mind picking a fight with Westminster. In fact, I think it's a national duty for a Scottish leader to pick a fight with these idiots in London. But you pick a fight on ground where you've got the people behind you, not where the people are against you. That's just stupid.
Well, exactly right. And if that's his first kind of move, it's a bad move, it's the wrong move, and it's the move that got his predecessor kicked out of the First Minister's very nice establishment at Bute House.
Well, I'm hoping that Humza's just saying this so he can get the Greens on board for the vote this afternoon.
Yeah.
Once that's safely out the way and he's safely installed as First Minister, sense and common sense and rationality will break out, and he'll say, oh my goodness, I've seen the legal advice, and despite my best wishes, it's probably not prudent to go ahead with this, and I'm so sorry, Patrick Harvey and the Greens, but, you know, I did my best. I'm hoping that, behind it, there's a bit of political guile. Because basically, if he runs on the transgender legislation, in the words of that excellent film where Eagle has landed, he'll make the charge of the Light Brigade look like a sensible military manoeuvre.
Exactly right. Now, I'm not normally a fan of Ian McWhirter's fine words, but he's got a very interesting piece of spectator.
You fellow left-wingers, I thought you all stuck together, you guys.
Well, he's written a great piece in The Spectator, a fascinating piece, in which he basically alleges that that all of your former political enemies have sort of bitten the dust in a rather fast fashion in the past couple of weeks. It's extraordinary, isn't it? That, and I think last time we spoke, it was 3 years since your run-in with them all, when you were completely and utterly cleared of all the things that they said you'd done. They're all finished, and you seem to be on the rise.
Yeah, well, I've been in a state of mourning over the last few days as I've seen resignation after resignation. It's hurt me deeply. But listen, I read Ian's piece, and I agree with you. He's an excellent writer. He knows how to write a pen a phrase or two, does Ian McWhirter.
Yeah.
But I must deny that I'm responsible for these multiple resignations. You know, I didn't tell the SNP establishment to lie about the membership figures. I didn't tell my successor, Nicola Sturgeon, to drive up a cul-de-sac from Scottish independence. I didn't tell Nicola Sturgeon...
Without a licence, as it turns out.
Well, I didn't tell her to get pressed about transgender legislation. I mean, whatever they've done, they did to themselves. They didn't need my help to do it. So I deny any responsibility for their resignations. They were all self-imposed resignations. I think these people should have the credit for their own resignation.
Yes. And when you talk about a sort of a new beginning for the independence movement and a formation of a kind of independence convention, how would that look? What would that look like? And what would your role in it be?
Right. Well, let me say there's some people think it's a dichotomy, a tension between running the country properly, the parliament, the government, which people expect you to do, and pursuing an independence campaign. I don't believe that. I think a national leader, an SNP First Minister, has to do both. And one way to approach it is to form an independence convention and unite all the various independent parties, Alpin, the Scottish Socialist Party, all the independence parties, the pressure groups, the think tanks, all the people who, even Kevin McKenna, who you had on earlier, all the folk who believe in independence, and say, look, let's pursue the independence campaign together. While simultaneously, the Scottish First Minister gets on with the job of sorting out housing, health and education. And you have to do the two things. Because if you pursue listen to the siren voices in the unionist media who tell you to forget about independence and just concentrate on the other issues, then of course you've got no unique selling point against the Labour Party. You'll get wiped in the election because people will say, well, you and the Labour Party are really just the same. You have to have independence to rally the cause, because that is what has led to the success of the SNP over the last 20 years or so. Independence is on the rise, therefore the SNP is on the rise. People have been voting with regard to the view on the independence question. If the SNP backpedals or soft pedals on independence, then it's heading for a disaster at the general election. It has to front up independence as well as running the parliament properly. And folks say that's difficult. Well, politics is difficult. Government's difficult. These things are difficult. You've got to...
Well, the SNP have made it more difficult for themselves, though, surely, because they've now got themselves into a position where there's fewer people who say they want independence for Scotland than there were even, I know, slightly more than when you started with your campaigns back before the last referendum. But, it doesn't look to me like a country that now wants independence.
Yeah, but Mike, there's a big difference, isn't there? I mean, when I led the SNP into government, the SNP vote was much bigger than the independence vote. A lot of people who didn't believe in independence were saying, oh, well, let's give that idiot Salmond a chance. He can't do any worse than the Labour Party, sort of thing, But now, of course, the reverse is the case. Even if you take the recent polls, let's say 45% or so, that's higher than the SNP vote now. So you've now got more people believing in independence than believe in the SNP. Now, the way you sort that out is you mobilise the independence voters, you give people faith and belief, you show them that you actually mean it. You're not just playing at it. You're not just sending endless requests for a Section 30 and going cap in hand to Westminster. You're planning to force the will of the Scottish people on the Westminster Parliament. That's what inspires people about independence. And secondly, you restore faith in the SNP government by, ditch the Greens, for goodness sake, and get on with running the show. Don't do stupid things like the bottle return scheme or transgender legislation. Get on with doing what people expect, running the things that matter to people properly, well, govern wisely and competently.
Yes.
And if you govern competently, you'll give people the confidence to believe in independence.
But I think, like in this country, and I say England, I know you'd like me to say that. I should really say Britain.
I love England.
No, I know you do, but you want me to say this country as in England rather than Britain. But, you know, the people are sick to death of people who have been in charge for too long. The Tories have been in charge for so long now that everybody just wants to get rid of them, like they did in the end with Tony Blair and Gordon Brown, like they probably will do in the end, perhaps with the SNP. A bit more difficult to get rid of them up there. But isn't there not a case of sort of voter fatigue now?
Well, I'll tell you what, Alapa, which you mentioned earlier, I think Alapa have now made a breakthrough, because I was in a London taxi yesterday, and the taxi driver said to me, he said, "What's this new lot you're reading?" I said, "It's called Alba or Alapa." He said, "Right, can you stand down here?" So I knew that we're making a breakthrough when London taxi drivers are demanding that Alapa, the new party of Scottish independence, stands in England. That is progress, Mike.
That really is. Well, listen, I look forward to it. I look forward to the next time you're in town. I might buy you a beer. Alex Salmond, of course, the former First Minister of Scotland, leader of the Alba Party, as recognised by all London cabbies. This is TalkTV.